I have a tough time thinking they're going to just ship him off, especially when you could potentially get Hanifin in the offseason. I know Hanifin wants to get the most amount of money he possibly can, but I don't know. I don't see the need at this moment to go fully all in for Hanifin. And I get it. You would be, I mean, again, Hanifin, McAvoy, Lindholm, Carlo, like, yes, I get it, how good it would be. Long term, is that the best thing to give up assets to get that when you could potentially get that in free agency? And welcome into Poke the Bear, episode 205. That is Conor Ryan. I am Evan Marinofsky. Conor, what is up?
Evan, I'm here. I'm talking. I have a voice. I am present. How are you?
I'm all right. You've been better though. You've been like, this thing's kicking your ass. You've got like a viral respiratory thing, right? That's just absolutely, you're going like 20 rounds with this thing, you know?
Got that, got a sinus infection, got a whole bunch of shit. So my apologies to anyone who heard my solo podcast last Saturday. It sounded like, I think, a mix of like SpongeBob when he didn't have water, mixed with like the Emperor. So I can only imagine people listening to that and that cause being like, what the fuck is this guy? This guy sounds like he's deceased. So I'm not sounding much better, but at least I can speak a little bit today. My voice returned after a few days of literally not being able to do anything. So happy to be here, Evan. I'm not going to say that this all started because, one, Duncan didn't get me a free Dunking's tracksuit, and two, the Terriers lost the Beanpot. But I'm just saying, Evan, a little bit of a coincidence, isn't it?
I tend to agree with that, especially the Dunk Kings thing. That should have been, I think that's on Dunks. I blame this on Dunks. I think that Dunks is behind this.
No, it's they'll send the tracksuits to the people who like do fake fucking Boston accents and make little TikToks. So they'll send it to those people. But
are those people not the worst?
The hard-working Duncan loyalists here who go there every day for sustenance to fuel their days, they get fucking screwed, Evan.
The people who use Dunks to work. These people who do the fake Boston accents online, where's the work they're doing? They're just, oh yeah, in the Harvard, like
go back to fucking Marblehead.
This could be a whole other podcast, but there's two people I'm thinking of. I'm not going to name them, but they do the fake Boston accents. I see them on TikTok, although I did give up TikTok for Lent, Conor, so I have not been on TikTok in like a week, and I'm doing okay.
Impressive.
It is impressive. But I always used to see their videos, whether it be on TikTok or Instagram, and it's and they get the sponsorships because these stupid companies with dumb marketing people think, oh yeah, this is what's gonna build our brand. We're gonna give it to these people who have these fake videos. That's perfect, and it gets me so agitated. I can't stand it. The fake influencer thing, the fake Boston accent thing. These people suck. I don't like them. And you should be the one getting the Duncan sponsorship, not them. So that's where I stand.
You're a good friend.
I try, and I also hate those people so much.
Also that, yeah.
Like, there are very few things that get me to like really, get agitated. That's one of them. The other thing is people taking what other people report and tweeting it and not like giving credit. Like, there are a couple people on Twitter I've noticed, not going to name names, who will take people's reporting, which is behind like a paywall, like at the Athletic or the Globe or different things like that, New England Hockey Journal, and they will tweet out just what's in the story. And it's like, well, that defeats the purpose of the whole thing now, doesn't it?
Now throw a little link at the bottom of it after you've already ripped out their fucking information like a vulture in the Serengeti. Put the link at the bottom of that, makes it all squared away.
Yeah, that works. That's always perfect. And some people are like, oh, why are they bitching about this? Well, you're sick. You're not feeling great. I can feel myself getting sick again for the second time in like 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm pissed off, and I have some it's like Festivus, airing of grievances. I've got some grievances, and that's what we're gonna do. Anyways, the Bruins have been out west in Western Canada, which is also perfect for you who needs sleep, having to stay up until 1 a.m. to watch
That
the
that
6-5
that fucking
Edmonton game.
that goddamn Edmonton game. I was like, oh man, this game is so good. It was like, yeah. Osmosis Jones is fighting for his goddamn life inside me. So I'm like, he's like, go to bed, shit. So I'm like, all
Like, I
right,
can't.
I have to treat out this McAvoy goal. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can't. Well, the best part was the minute the game ended, I turned the TV off and I went straight to bed. And I look at my phone and I see like Ty tweets the lobster pic of me. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why is this needed at this moment? And I saw that TNT put my tweet on. And the ironic part is that tweet sucked. That's like and because I don't, Connor, you're actually creative. I'm not so much creative. So when I can't tweet out the clips of the game, I don't know what to say. So I'm like, that McAvoy goal was filthy. Where's that Stephen A gif of him with Michael Wilbon? Like, where is
It's a
that?
great gif.
It is a great gif, but it's that's a very 2015 kind of tweet. Like with it, but TNT still like eats that stuff up.
Yeah.
So I found that funny. I was like, man, they picked like my worst tweet and put it on display. Like I look like mainstream Evan. So
Hey, it's good publicity for New England Hockey Journal.
Oh, just the best. Just the best. Anyways, Bruins win in overtime against Edmonton 6-5. They lose in overtime on Thursday night 3-2 in Calgary. There's been some good, there's been some bad. Both games going to overtime has not been great for people, especially late. Like if you have some sleeping troubles and it's like, oh, I like to relax before I go to bed, that's not going to do it for you. What have you liked good so far from both games? Let's start with the good.
Yeah, I mean, I do like some of the resilience that comes with, especially that Oilers game. Did not look good for a while there. You blow a 4-1 lead. Against a team as good as that. I think going into the late stages of third period, I think we're on the same boat of like, man, you need some timely saves there. Can't put your foot off the gas. This left side of this defense looks rough. It's a lot of evident flaws. And I think you don't come out of these games, even the 2-point win over Edmonton or, getting a point out of that Calgary game when this team was clearly gassed. I don't think you'd come out of this being like, oh, this team has turned, a new leaf or they've got out of this kind of malaise they've been in since the All-Star break. But I think you do like the resilience you've seen from players in critical situations. Kind of what we said all year long, even games where they're pretty flat. They tend to stick in games. They tend to fight through things. You've had a lot of guys contribute that have been pretty stagnant for a while. You had a 2-goal game from Charlie Coyle. He gets 20 goals on the year. I think Jake DeBrusk had probably his best game of the year in Edmonton. He was awesome in that game and made more things happen in this game against Calgary as well. Trent Frederick has made a couple of plays on the fourth line. I think we'll talk about it a little bit. The fourth line has had a few guys step up as of late. So I think it'd be one thing if his team was really treading water and the defense was struggling and there's more to give there. But if they were just like clinging on to games off of just relying on Swayman and Ullmark and David Pasternak's leading the way with, 3 goals in 4 games, then you're like, all right, well, we know what they're relying on. They're kind of just treading water right now. At least you're seeing some other players step up and contribute over this stretch here, which has at least been pretty encouraging if you look at just the way that more guys are pulling on the rope right now.
They are, and I think, to come out of those 2 games with 3 points is a good thing. Resilient, obviously, that game, the game against Edmonton, you blow a couple lead, you blow a pretty big lead, actually. What was it, 4-2 or 4-1 entering the third? It was 4-1. And that's kind of where we hit the bad, right? Like you're up 4-1 going into the third. I know Edmonton's a desperate, fast team, but you've got to kind of find a way to hold on to that. And that started with Jeremy Swayman letting that goal in. It wasn't Cody Ceci who scored, but his shot got through. Cody Ceci would have scored, but I forget who the guy was.
Mark, right?
Yeah, came in and just a little boop, like gets the goal. But that shot from Ceci
can't have it happen.
No, not even a little bit. And as we saw, I mean, that was kind of when that surge came where Edmonton scored right after and they scored to tie it. And then it was just kind of back and forth. I think the goaltending from Swayman, it's interesting because Swayman made some outstanding saves in that game, especially in overtime. Yeah, like made some huge saves. And it's like, those are the shots, like the one from Ceci that gets through. And it's frustrating, I think, for everybody. So that's one of the bad things. And then, Derek Forbort continues to struggle. And I know, again, he's been back. I talked about this with Bell Frazier on Bruins Beat earlier this week. And for me, you don't have a ton of options with Lindholm hurt, which we'll get to in a second. But you've got to let him try to at least get back into the swing of things. And I think that's the tough part is obviously, yes, they could use someone else back there. It would be, he's not playing well enough to continue to play, but you do need him to continue to play because you need him to get right for the postseason. And I think that's a tough dilemma for this team, but this is the time to do it. Right. I'm curious what else or what you thought of the bad over the last 2 games.
Yeah, definitely in the goaltending with Swayman, that is something that has to get shored up. And it's frustrating, right? Because as we said, he had some great saves in overtime, but when you're playing a team like Edmonton that's so dangerous up front, or let's say you get to the playoffs and you play against Toronto, a really explosive team, you're controlling play, then you let in a softie. That's how the floodgates start. You can't have that happen to some of these teams that are so gifted offensively. Look at Florida the same way. You cannot. The margin of error is so slim in the playoffs that it's also very funny because I feel like that's one thing that Rask would get obliterated with every time, because there was times where he'd be completely locked in, fantastic, but then there would be a few of those softies where you're like,
gotta have
and
that.
immediately we get fucking roasted. But
you don't hear it.
Now it's like, I fucking Forbort. I'm like, I don't know, that was just a pretty bad goal. So
I texted you Forbort or whatever on the play, but you're right. It is, Swayman's got to have those. I completely agree.
Yeah. And again, you can, we'll take a deep breath. I can't do it because then I'll cough on my camera. But,
I was going to say.
I won't take a deep breath.
Phlegm all over the camera.
Yeah, exactly. It's just an awful 4D Disney ride. It's like the Magic School Bus.
Yeah, it's like those when little kids. I always say when little kids sneeze and they're like it's just it goes everywhere. It's just snot all over their iPad, just like it just goes everywhere. That's the shit that they do.
The goddamn Mucinex man's about to make a fucking appearance if we don't corral this right now.
You know what?
But
before we continue,
yes,
let's go to the FanDuel real quick.
Get your buckets with your first bet at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams, quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/Boston and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
All right, we're composed now. We're good.
I'm back.
Get it out of us. That was good timing by me on that commercial.
Yes. Shout out FanDuel. Shout out FanDuel for saving my life.
Literally. Anywho, Swayman's got to be better. You know what's interesting, and this is just an observation I've had. I saw some people tweeting about it after the Calgary game. That Pastrnak play that he had the 2-on-0 with McAvoy. Pastrnak is so skilled that he makes those kinds of play. I'm all for him trying those things. The 5-hole did look open on Markstrom, and Markstrom just kind of closed it up quick.
Yeah.
But Pastrnak has this unfortunate habit of making highly skilled plays look like he doesn't care. On that play, someone who doesn't watch a lot of hockey would be like, what the hell is he doing? He's not even trying. Or the shootout attempts. Sometimes he'll, try to do something very simple but make it look skilled. Or skilled and make it look simple. So it looks like he's doing nothing if it doesn't go in. And people are like, wait, what's he doing? Does he even care? And it's no, he's trying to do something unique. And I understood going for 5-hole there. I initially thought he was trying to do the shot low pad and have the rebound bounce to McAvoy, which I was like, that's a crazy thing to do in overtime on a 2-on-0.
Right.
But it looked like he was going 5-hole, which in that case, that makes a little bit more sense. Do you have any other leftover, good or bad, that we're not about to talk about from those 2 games?
I mean, I think that's probably sums it up, right? I mean, I think it's at least encouraging. You're seeing more guys getting involved. You're seeing, I mean, Montgomery has completely put those lines in a blender once again. So it's hard to really glean like which line's getting chemistry, which one we're seeing as maybe something they can build off of going forward. But I think that you're seeing more guys contribute, at least is encouraging, is you're trying to get more guys building their game. If everyone's building their game, their own individual game, and playing at a high level, results are going to play out. If DeBrus keeps on playing like that, if Frederick keeps on playing in the bottom six like that, if Coyle's, getting his scoring touch back, it's all going to lead to better results across the board for this team moving forward.
It is. I completely agree. Hampus Lindholm, though, went down with an injury prior to this trip on a weird play. Kind of goes down, and, it sounds like it's going to be week to week with him. No surgery required. This comes at a bad time, though, because you got the trade deadline coming up soon. And, Lindholm has had his ups and downs this year. You don't need him. Last year, I remember in the playoffs, he had a little bit of a foot injury. And it sort of completely messed with him. He still doesn't look completely right. Now he has something else, it looks like. And this could kind of force their hand when it comes to the deadline.
Yeah, no, it's brutal timing for the Bruins, right? Because again, we've looked at the trade deadline and what they could, acquire. I think we've all agreed that we're looking more at marginal upgrades, and stuff further down the lineup that I think can be useful, whether it's another fourth line kind of tone setting player, a third pairing physical kind of player that can, keep skaters out of grade AI as well, add a little bit more punishment out there. Like, I think they could use those things, but now you're all of a sudden in a spot where, all right, do they need to be in the Hannafin sweepstakes? And I think in a perfect world, the Bruins aren't, relinquishing assets and doing cap gymnastics right now to bring him in when they could ideally wait until the offseason to just throw a contract at him, right? Now, they may not be in that situation because there might be an actual need if Lindholm's not ready, because and it creates its own set of pros and cons, right? Like, obviously, this team is better with Noah Hannafin here, but when you look at what the cost is to get him via trade, where you'd have to give up a 2025 first, maybe one of Lorai or Patra. Yeah. You got to make the money work, so you got to move out a contract here or there. Like, you'd much rather wait until he hits the market, hopefully, and just give him a contract if that's the situation. Because you don't want to lose one of your few talented young players just because, you've had injury bug bite. But you look at, like, where Lindholm is right now, you look at Fulbert, how he's playing, Grizzly is banged up. Like, left side of the defense is in trouble right now.
It is. And, Grizzly, as you mentioned, banged up the other night. Forbert has struggled quite a bit. Lindholm out. Wotherspoon, is that a guy you really want in there every night? And, it's interesting. I saw in The Athletic, they had a mock trade, or like trades that should happen or something. And Patra was involved in their projected trade for Hannafin. And I find the Patra stuff interesting because Sweeney's, when Patra went down for the season, Sweeney issued a statement, and I don't have it in front of me, but it basically said something along the lines of, we view him as someone who's going to be around here a long time, and someone we really value. I have a tough time thinking they're going to just ship him off, especially when you could potentially get Hannafin in the offseason. I know Hannafin wants to get the most amount of money he possibly can, but I don't know. I don't see the need at this moment to go fully all in for Hannafin. And I get it. You would be, again, Hannafin, McAvoy, Lindholm, Carlo, like, yes, I get it, how good it would be. Long term, is that the best thing to give up assets to get that when you could potentially get that in free agency? But we'll discuss that a little bit more in a second. First, a quick word from our friends over at Factor Meals.
Get started on your New Year's resolutions with Factor, so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from each week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. No more wasting time in the kitchen. Not only does Factor offer fast, simple solutions when I'm too busy to cook, they also help me stay on top of my goals. With offerings like Protein Plus and Keto, I can stay on track. This is definitely going to come in handy for my New Year's goals. So head to factormeals.com/poke50 and use code POKE50 to get 50% off. That's code POKE50. Factor Meals, your go-to ready-to-eat meal delivery service. And now, let's get back to the show.
So what we are seeing in terms of the Bruins and their deadline plan, we've said for a long time, probably going to be out on the top guys, whether it be Hanifin or anybody else, but they're going to have to be buyers. I don't think they can stand pat. I don't think they can do nothing. They will at least have to do something. And I think it goes along the lines of what we've been saying now for a couple of weeks. And that, it's the only difference with these injuries to the left side of the defense. The only change is that now we know for a fact they need depth on D. For a long time, it was a little bit of a debate of, do they need a forward? They need a defenseman. Now it's like, I mean, you could use both. You should get both. But priority one is getting some depth on the back end for sure.
Yeah. And I think it also goes into, like, I did a pros and cons story today for Boston.com looking at Hanifin. And, like, one of the cons is, like, all right, if you're going all in on Hanifin, and listen, like, Hanifin's great. 27, 6'3", kind of like Lindholm, right? Like, can move the puck, can generate offense, can do a little bit of everything. He's very talented. He's not necessarily like a bruising guy back there. Like, he kills plays with, like, positioning, stick work, first pass. He's not like separating the puck from a player by smashing them into the boards or anything. Right? Yeah, he's not that kind of player. So if you're spending all of your, again, very limited assets right now on a guy like Hanifin, who, again, helps your team, but it means you can't get that third pairing guy that can, Emil Labushkin or Nick Seeler, who, like, eats pucks. He's, like, leading the league, I think, in block shots. Or even, like, maybe he's more of, like, a second pairing guy, but like Jacob Middleton, right? Like a guy who's a little bit more of a physical player. You won't have the assets to get those guys, or like a Brendan Duhaime or someone else on the fourth line, for spending all of them on just to get a guy like Hanifin. Like, the best case scenario, if the Bruins are trying to, like, go you swing for the fences, I mean, without involving Hanifin, like, maybe it's you get like Duhaime and Middleton from Minnesota, which would probably cost a lot, and then you sign Hanifin in the offseason. Like, that would be like, all of a sudden you've got Hanifin with like a third pairing stalwart like Middleton. Then you're cooking moving forward, right? But again, this has to have a lot go your way. Need Hanifin to land in a spot where he doesn't want to sign there long term, because that's also the risk you run. It's kind of like the Ryan McDonough thing, right? Where it's like, remember in 2018, the Bruins, were linked to him, but it's like, oh, fuck, we don't want to give up the Bruss. We don't want to give up these guys we really like. And then McDonough goes to the Lightning and becomes a stalwart of two, cup-winning teams. It's like, well, don't want Hanifin right now just because we'd rather sign him free agency. Well, what if he goes to the Panthers? What if he goes to Tampa Bay? He's like, well, back in the States, in Florida,
I was going to say,
two pretty good winning franchises. Like, I can live down here, visit family every once in a while. It's a quick direct flight between Fort Lauderdale and Boston. It's not too bad. Then all of a sudden you're a Bruins fan, you're like, it's not great.
I was going to say, that's the fear, is that as much as he might want to sign here, you get to Florida. It's good franchises. The Panthers are on the up and up, That's like an encouraging organization. The Lightning have won a bunch. They're really nice areas to live. Players want to go there. Matthew Tkachuk did that,
Yep.
like
old friend from Calgary.
Old friend, like, you worry about that. And then again, that's an Atlantic Division team that could have it over you. So that's an interesting point. I agree with you. That is something to think about. We'll talk a lot more about the deadline in the coming days, weeks. I know you're doing another podcast with Ty Anderson on kind of deadline stuff. So I don't want to get all up in that because I know we're going to be talking about that a lot more as the weeks and days go along. Fourth line, though, pleasant surprise. I know he's not on the fourth line, but he's been on it in the past couple games. Anthony Richard, how about that saucer pass to Charlie Coyle? That was nifty. I like that. But Brazeau's been an interesting addition. Big guy, creates space, no problem going to the net. Like, I like it. And again, I don't know if you found, Jesper Boquist too has been kind of revitalized. He's had chances. He went in the shootout the other night. Which is but it is encouraging because I don't think you found the set trio yet. And obviously there's injuries and things like that. But Brazo seems interesting. Boquist has been interesting. Richard has been interesting. They play with some speed and some physicality. I think it's at the very least, it's trending in the right direction.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it, is trending the right direction, because it's still a fourth line that, he said, they haven't found a set trio. I think they're still trying to find their overall identity of what that line is. And when you like look at guys like Boquist or Richard, and where they are they just like, fast skating players that can maybe generate a little bit of offense? Like, you'll take that. Is that like what a fourth line should be? Like, what exactly, you can cater fourth line whoever you want, right? Like, there's like the Merlot lines, there's like Carolina's fourth line, been a lot of just straight line guys that can, like just create havoc on the forecheck. Bruins have a lot of guys they can turn to kind of fill out different spots there. And like, again, the whole thing with Brazo is that he's, known for being a pretty good scorer in the AHL, big body, not like a power forward, I would say. Like, I wouldn't view him as this guy that's going to be, the next Tom Wilson or anything like that. And his skating has been something that's been knocked, but puts himself in great ice. Every time he takes a shot, it's like within 5 feet of the net. A pretty good formula to generate good chances there. So, whether it's him, Richard, again, Boquist, like, I think there's a lot of people were upset when Beecher got sent down for Boquist, but he's been good in faceoffs, been responsible defensively. Like, he's doing all the little things you kind of need to solidify that spot. So, again, I'd still like the Bruins to go get a like fourth line. Maybe you got a little bit more of a sandpaper to their game before the deadline, but it does seem like that fourth line is going to be a work in progress all the way up till April, and then probably when we get to the playoffs. Like, there's still going to be a lot of mixing and matching there.
Yeah, I completely agree. And again, you don't have to have it filled out now. And again, I think it also kind of comes back to what you were mentioning about Duhaime and guys like that is, if you go out and get one of those guys, where do they fit on that fourth line? How do they fit with a Brazo or a Lauko? Steen, I'm not that interested in anymore. I think you kind of know what you have in him. He's a good guy to fill in. Kind of as Hag said last week, a tweener, going between the AHL and the NHL. There's nothing wrong with that. But I don't think Steen is your long-term full-time solution on the fourth line, at least from what I've seen so far. But this has been an adventure, Connor. This has been
Made
great.
it through.
We did it. You did it. We only had to break once, but that was for an ad, so it was perfect timing anyway.
Yep, absolutely.
But anyways, you're grinding through some sickness, but what can the people look forward to from you over at the Globe and Boston.com?
Yeah, we're going to be covered every step of the way this season with game recaps, features, breakdowns. Again, we have a thing on Noah Hannafin out today, so please read that. You can find all of it over at Boston.com. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can at ConorRyan_93.
Go do all that. That's Conor Ryan. I'm Evan Marinofsky. Poke the Bear listeners. Have a great rest of your week.